Good morning, students. We are going to start with chemistry of grade 10th. In chemistry, we have 5 chapters. Chapter 1, chemical reactions and equations. Chapter 2, acid, bases and salts. Chapter 3, metals and non-metals. Chapter 4, carbon and its compound. Chapter 5, periodic classification of elements. We are going to start with the first chapter, chemical reactions and equations. What is a chemical reaction? Before defining the chemical reaction, we will define some general terms like physical change. Let us consider the following situation of daily life: melting of ice, evaporation of water, rusting of iron, burning of carbon in air. The first two processes do not lead to the formation of any new chemical substances. Such processes in which no new chemical substances are formed are called physical changes. In process 2 and 3, the original substance lose their nature and identity and form new chemical substances. Such process in which the original substances lose their nature and identity and form new chemical substances with different properties are called chemical changes. Chemical reaction. The process involving a chemical change is called chemical reaction. In chemical reaction, we have reactant. The chemical substances taken originally are called reactants, and the new chemical substances are formed are called as product. For example, magnesium and oxygen. When magnesium burns in presence of oxygen, it forms magnesium oxide. Magnesium and oxygen are reactant. Magnesium oxide is product. Similarly, reaction between lead nitrate and potassium iodide leads to the formation of lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Lead nitrate and potassium iodide are reactants. Lead iodide and potassium nitrates are products. Zinc and hydrochloric acid. The reaction between zinc and hydrochloric acid gives rise to zinc chloride and hydrogen gas. Characteristics of a chemical reaction. When a chemical reaction takes place, some changes are observed. These easily observable changes that takes place in a chemical reaction are called characteristics of a chemical reaction. Some important characteristics of chemical reactions are given below. Formation of precipitate, change in color, change in state, evolution of gas. Formation of precipitate. Some chemical reactions are accompanied by the formation of precipitate, like BaCl2SO4 gives rise to NaCl and BaSO4, that is barium chloride and sodium sulfate. The reaction between barium chloride and sodium sulfate leads to the formation of barium sulfate and sodium chloride. Barium sulfate, it is a white precipitate formed in the reaction. So, if a precipitate is formed in a reaction, then we can say that chemical reaction has taken place. Similarly, change in color. Some chemical reactions are accompanied by change in color. For example, rust is brown in color whereas iron is grayish black in color. If we leave the iron, then a layer of iron oxide is formed. This is called as rust. So iron is grayish black, which is formed on the iron is brown in color. There is a change in the color. So we can say that a chemical reaction has taken place. Change in state. Some chemical reactions are accompanied by change in state. For example, petrol, which is liquid, burns to form water vapor and carbon dioxide. Petrol is a liquid. On burning, it is giving gas. If solid changes into liquid or liquid changes into gas, then we can say that a chemical reaction has taken place. Next, evolution of gas. Some chemical reactions are accompanied by the evolution of gas. For example, zinc and hydrochloric acid gives rise to zinc chloride and hydrogen gas. So, released in a reaction, then a chemical reaction has taken place. Chemical equation. The shorthand method of representing a chemical reaction in terms of symbol and formula of different reactants and products. They are of two types: balanced chemical equation, unbalanced chemical equation. Now, what is balanced chemical equation? An equation in which number of atoms of each element on the two sides of the equation are equal. For example, zinc and sulfuric acid gives rise to zinc sulfate and hydrogen. The number of atoms of zinc is 1 on both the sides. We have 2 hydrogen atoms on both the sides. Sulfur 1 atom on both the sides and oxygen 4 atoms. If the number of atoms on the reactant is equals to number of atoms in the product, then the equation is said to be balanced chemical equation. It means an equation in which the number of atoms of each elements on both the sides of the equation are equal is called balanced chemical equation. Now, what is unbalanced chemical equation? Unbalanced chemical equation, an equation in which the number of atoms of different elements is not equal on the two sides of the reaction, is called unbalanced chemical equation. Again, if an equation in which the number of atoms of different element is not equals on two sides of the equation is called unbalanced chemical equation, or it can also be called as skeletal equation. Now, an unbalanced equation should be balanced. So, for balancing of a chemical equation, it means making the number of atoms of each elements on both the sides of the equation equal. The balancing of the chemical equation by hit and trial method. Some steps chemical equation by hit and trial method. Step 1. To write the word equation. Step 2. To write the unbalanced equation. Step 3. To list the number of atoms of different elements on LHS and RHS. Step 4. To select the biggest formula to start balancing. Step 5. To start balancing of different elements. Step 6. To check the correctness of the balanced equation. These are the various steps involved to balance an unbalanced chemical equation. For example, an example to write the balancing of the equation by hit and trial method. Write the balanced equation for the following reaction. Steam is passed over a heated iron to form iron oxide and hydrogen. Step 1. Write the word equation. We have to write the word equation like iron plus steam gives rise to oxide plus hydrogen. Step 2. To write the unbalanced equation like Fe plus H2O gives rise to Fe3O4 plus H2. Step 3. Listing the number of atoms of different element. Write element, number of atoms on left hand side, number of atoms on right hand side. Like we have 3 elements Fe, H and O. Fe, H and O. We are writing the number of atoms on left hand side, iron 1, hydrogen 2, oxygen 1. Similarly, on right hand side we have 3 atoms of iron, 4 oxygen and 2 hydrogens. Now step 4. Select the biggest formula and balance the elements with the highest number of atoms, that is oxygen. Now we are going to balance the oxygen. We are having 4 atoms of oxygen, so here 4 has to be returned. In step 5, to balance the iron atom on both the sides, we have 3 iron atoms. So we are going to write 3 iron atoms in the front, and 4 water molecules gives rise to Fe34 plus 2. Step 6, to balance hydrogen atom. 3 iron atoms plus 4 water molecules gives rise to, 8 hydrogen atoms are here, so we should get 8 in this. Now checking the correctness of the balanced equation, we are going to write in the same way: elements, number of atoms on left hand side and number of atoms on right hand side. It should be same. And finally write the balanced chemical equation. This is the hit and trial method to balance the chemical equation. Similarly, another example, nitrogen and hydrogen combines to form ammonia. Now we have to balance the equation by hit and trial method. The first step is to write the word equation, that is nitrogen plus hydrogen gives rise to ammonia. The second step, to write the balanced equation, that is N2 plus H2 gives rise to NH3. The third step, listing the number of atoms of different elements, like elements should be written, number of atoms on left hand side and right hand side. Only we are having 2 elements, nitrogen and hydrogen, 2 atoms of nitrogen on left hand side and 2 atoms of hydrogen. Similarly, 1 atom of nitrogen and 3 atoms of hydrogen. Now step 4, balancing of nitrogen atoms on both the sides. Now we have to balance the nitrogen atom. Here 2 is on the left hand side, so we are going to balance it with the 2. Similarly, balancing of the hydrogen atom on both the sides. We are having 6 hydrogen here, so we are going to multiply the hydrogen gas with 3. It becomes 6. So now checking the correctness of the balanced equation. Nitrogen and hydrogen, 2 atoms of nitrogen and 6 atoms of hydrogen. Similarly, 2 atoms of nitrogen and 6 atoms of hydrogen. The final balanced equation. Okay, these are the 2 examples which we have done the balancing by the hit and trial method. Next question. Why should a magnesium ribbon be cleaned before burning in the air? When magnesium ribbon is exposed to the air, a white layer of magnesium oxide is formed on its surface. This magnesium oxide hinders the burning of magnesium. So this layer has to be removed with the help of sandpaper before burning. Write the balanced equation of the following chemical reaction. Chlorine gives rise to hydrogen chloride. H2 plus Cl2 gives rise to 2HCl. Barium chloride plus aluminium sulfate gives rise to barium sulfate and aluminium chloride. BaCl2, 3 atoms of BaCl2, Al2SO4 thrice, BaSO4 and AlCl3. So try to balance these 2 equations either by hit and trial method or just balance the number of atoms. Similarly, write the balanced following. Barium chloride, it's in the aqueous state. Sodium sulfate, it's in the aqueous state. Barium sulfate, which is formed, is solid, and sodium chloride, which comes out in the reaction, is aqueous. Similarly, sodium hydroxide and HCl gives rise to NaCl plus H2O. The sodium hydroxide is aqueous, HCl is also aqueous, sodium chloride is also aqueous, and it is in the liquid form. The next question. A solution of a substance is used for whitewashing. The first question is name X and write its formula. For whitewashing, we use only one substance which is called as calcium oxide. The other name of calcium oxide, the formula of calcium oxide is CaO. The last question. Write the reaction of the substance X with water. When this calcium oxide is made to react with the water, it forms calcium hydroxide, CaOH. Thank you.